Good morning and welcome to Commencement 2025. My name is Hadley Underwood and I am the program manager for the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Program. Before I go further, I want to let you in on an inside secret. We use a fake acronym to refer to our program. We take the C from conflict and the res from resolution to make the term CRES. So you'll hear that reference throughout. Now that we have that inside knowledge, we can move onward. On behalf of the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of the University of Oregon School of Law, I welcome today's graduates, families, friends, staff, and faculty. Before I continue, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that the university is located on. Kaiapūya Ilihi is the traditional indigenous homeland of the Kaiapūya people. The Kaiapūya people were dispossessed of their homeland by the U.S. government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in western Oregon. Descendants of the Kaiapūya people are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians of Oregon. They and the other indigenous people of the tribal nations of Oregon continue to make lasting and important contributions to our community, the University of Oregon, and across the land we now refer to as Oregon. We express our respect for the 9 federally recognized tribal nations of Oregon and all other displaced indigenous people who call Oregon home. It is my honor to be with you today to celebrate the CRES class of 2025. For these graduates, today marks the finish line to a marathon marked by coursework, internships, research projects, stress, existential crises, peaks, and valleys. Your presence here today is a testament to your grit, determination, and commitment. All of those graduating today have studied ways to engage with conflict. You've studied the risks and opportunities associated with people having profound differences. Every one of you will have immediate and important opportunities to apply your skills in the world, in communities, in workplaces, in families, and within yourselves. There is no shortage of chances of places where you will have an opportunity for impact. That is exciting, and we're here to celebrate that. I'd like to take a moment to thank those who have supported you on this journey. To those who are not graduating, we are deeply grateful that you have joined us today. Graduate school can be, at times, an overwhelming experience, so thank you for all that you've offered our graduates. Your support has been critical to their success. Graduates, I invite you to take a round of applause for those that have supported you. I would also like to take a moment to introduce our faculty and staff in attendance. Jennifer Reynolds, Dean of the School of Law, Orlando John and Marion H. Hollis Professor of Law, Eric Gervin, Bernard B. Kilks Professor of Law, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Executive Director for Law and Conflict Studies, and the Faculty Director for the CRES program. Michael Moffitt, Philip H. Knight Chair in Law, Faculty Fellow in Clark's Honor College, Jasmine Samara, Faculty Director of Legal Studies, Christina O'Brien, Research Associate and Instructor, Roy Catalani, Nonprofit Clinic Director, Assistant Clinical Professor, Ray Sykes, Associate Dean of Finance and Operations, and Jess Yates, our User Support Technician. To the faculty and staff in attendance today, and to those who were unable to attend, thank you for your unwavering support and guidance for our students. This year, the CRES program celebrates our 21st year providing students with skills and knowledge for productive engagement with conflict. The knowledge and skills gained in the CRES program are universally valuable, and our students can have confidence that they will be able to apply them in whatever career they choose. We strive to teach our students to negotiate, to mediate, to facilitate, to listen, to speak up, and to lead. As I look out today, I am confident that we have succeeded. I know that each of you will thrive in whatever path you choose to follow, and the CRES team is privileged to have been part of that journey. Congratulations. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Jennifer Reynolds, Dean and Dave Frohnmeyer Chair in Leadership and Law. Dean Reynolds started as an assistant professor at Oregon Law in 2009. Before that, she was a visiting professor at University of Missouri School of Law and an associate at the Atlanta firm Dow Loans. Since coming to Oregon Law, Dean Reynolds has served as the faculty director of the Appropriate Dispute Resolution Program, the interim ombuds for the university, the Associate Dean of Faculty Research and Programs, and the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs. Dean Reynolds earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Chicago, her master's degree from the University of Texas at Austin, and her law degree from Harvard Law School. Please welcome Dean Reynolds to the podium.
Thank you so much, Hadley, and thank you all for coming today. A warm welcome to all of you, students, our graduating students, families, and friends. I am honored to join you to celebrate the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Class of 2025. Much of my professional life has focused on the study of conflict, how we understand it, how we manage it, and hopefully how we resolve it. It fills my heart to be around people who share this same passion. Outside of here, it's a beautiful day today, as we all can see, but outside of here, the world feels a bit, I don't know what the right word is. Is it chaotic, bewildering, dispiriting? It's not bad all the time, of course, but many of us can feel the disputes and the disagreements all around us, in the media and in the workplace and in government, and even in neighborhoods and families, as we deal with issues ranging from the micro to the most macro of scales. People ask me every day what we can do to make things better. The answer starts here and also here. So internally, we need to hone our ability to analyze, diagnose, and understand where conflict comes from. Externally, we need to learn and practice the skills that help us and others work through conflicts and disputes. These are not quick fixes. Conflict may be a natural part of the human experience, but what doesn't come naturally to many people is knowing how to manage and resolve conflict in creative and restorative ways. And that is where this class comes in. I imagine, students, when you started this program, you were excited to be part of the solution. You studied and you practiced and you refined an incredible array of tools for handling conflicts and disputes. These tools can build, they can fix, they can take things apart and put things back together again. It is an incredible accomplishment to have completed this course of study, and you should be very proud. The next chapter, as you know, may be quite challenging. The world is rife with conflict. As you bring your knowledge and skills to bear on these issues, you may feel yourself pulled to fatigue or even despair. Conflict work is hard work, and bringing compassion and care to difficult situations demands so much of us. When that pull happens, as it inevitably will, remember what you have learned and reflect on your values and your purpose. Each day is another chance for us to practice what we believe. I want to share part of a poem from Mary Oliver, if I may, because I feel like she captures the struggle of bringing our best selves into the world every day. She writes, "What I loved in the beginning, I think, was mostly myself. Never mind that I had to, since somebody had to. That was many years ago. Since then, I have gone out from my confinements, though with difficulty. I mean the ones that thought to rule my heart. I cast them out, I put them on the mush pile. They will be nourishment somehow. Everything is nourishment somehow or another. And I have become the child of the clouds and of hope. I have become the friend of the enemy, whoever that is. I have become older, and cherishing what I have learned, I have become younger. And what do I risk to tell you this, which is all I know? Love yourself, then forget it, then love the world." So, the wisdom of this poem, love yourself and love the world. Going forward, you can love the world by using what you've learned here to help the people and the environment around you. This is truly something to celebrate. We are so proud to have had these years with you, and we are looking forward with admiration and gratitude to where your journey takes you from here. Thank you, and congratulations again to the class of 2025.
Thank you, Dean Reynolds. I am proud to introduce our first speaker, Obafemi Akinteo. Obafemi completed his bachelor's degree in archaeology and anthropology and a Master of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Ibadan. During his time in CRES, he interned with the UO UNESCO Crossings Institute for Intercultural Dialogue and Conflict. His final project is focused on understanding the reemergence of coups in Francophone African countries compared to their English-speaking counterparts. In addition to his studies, Obafemi has served as the CRES student representative for the Student Bar Association for the past 2 years. Please welcome Obafemi to the podium.
Good day, everyone. Wow, what a journey. It is an honor to stand before you today. I'm filled with so many emotions, gratitude, disbelief, and most of all, so much joy. Because this moment right here, it did not come easily. And that makes it all the more beautiful. Just about 2 years ago, I stepped off a plane and into a country I'd never been before, the United States of America. New country, new culture, new weather, far from home. No friends, no family nearby, no clear roadmap for how things worked. I was coming for a master's degree again. Some of you might be wondering, why would anyone do 2 master's degrees? Honestly, I'm still wondering too. In my head, let's do this again. It should be fun. Spoiler alert, it was not fun at all. At first, I mean. The first time was rough. I remember walking into my first class, and everyone was talking about things like Canvas announcements, office hours, and I just kept nodding like, yes, yes, of course. Meanwhile, I was Googling everything the whole time. Everything felt new, the way students spoke to us, the way professors expected participations, even how assignments were structured. Nothing was familiar. And to top it off, I had only partial funding. Every tuition deadline felt like a mountain I had to climb without the right gear. I mean, Bryce could attest to it, you know. By the spring term, I began to settle in pretty well. Things started to shift positively. Shout out to the campus job that I did for 2 terms because it paid my bills. But nothing beats having a GE as a graduate student. Suddenly, I could afford groceries without mentally calculating every item in the cart. That was when I knew we were making progress. I was not just surviving anymore, I was beginning to thrive. But I did not get here on my own, not even close. If there's anything I have learned, it's that grace carries you when grit alone is not enough. Truly, there were days when I did not know how I would make it to the next week, but God showed up. Every time, it was God's grace that sustained me through uncertainties. It was the faculty who saw potentials in us and offered us guidance always. It was family cheering us from miles away, who reminded us why I started in the first place. And today, I'm glad that we all made them proud. Today, as we graduate, I don't see a degree, I see a story. One filled with prayers, long nights, small victories, of course, and the kindness of people who believed in us when we were still finding our feet. We did it. Some of us crawled to the finish line, others cruised through. It does not matter anymore because we are here now. We have mastered more than our fields. We have mastered perseverance, creativity, and how to survive on burgers and group projects. So let's go out into the world to make peace, build bridges, and solve problems. And maybe, just maybe, take a short break before signing up for another master's degree. Hobby hits bittersweet. Maybe, just maybe, we are the teach out cohort. I really hope that we are not, because CRES has impacted us greatly with its multidisciplinary, authentic approaches to solving real-life problems. However, if this is the final verse, then let it echo. Let us make an impact and get people wondering. Scratch that, asking, what was the program really like? Because the truth is, even if the funding stops, your impact doesn't. This speech will be incomplete without acknowledging the faculty, and a special shout out to Adley Underwood and John English. You all are the real MVPs. Thank you and congratulations to the class of 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Obafemi. I am pleased to introduce our second student speaker, Hara Gakaramon. Hara completed a Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations from Boston University. Through the CRES program, Hara has focused their work on conflict resolution through a lens of environmental justice, focusing on courses in sustainability, ecology, and more. Hara has completed internships with the Water League, Conflict Artistry, and the Center for Dialogue and Resolution. Their final project explores how mediators embody neutrality while working with environmental conflicts. Please welcome Hara to the podium.
Good morning. I'm honored to be a speaker at the 2025 commencement ceremony for the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Program. It is Sarah Cobb and Janet Rifkin, influential researchers of mediation, that argue that language does not just represent reality, but it functions to constitute reality. This is why I will begin my speech by considering the etymology of the word conflict. I'm interested to see the reality that conflict represents. The word conflict was formulated in the early 15th century, and it comes from the Latin conflictus, which is the past particle of confligere. The first syllable, con, means together, and the second syllable, fligere, means to strike. So con and fligere make up conflict, and conflict means to strike together or to struggle together. This to me indicates that togetherness, relationship, and camaraderie is a central, inalienable aspect of conflict. Conflict does not exist without relationships, and relationships are at the core of our human experience. They are often the source of the pain that we experience, and they can be the site of healing. I think it is the togetherness and relationship aspect of the work that most conflict resolution practitioners instinctively lean towards. When I think of the graduating cohort today, Bryce, Obafemi, and Bosi, and Ari, and I have found ourselves in an unlikely togetherness. Between the four of us and Ari, we represent 4 countries and 3 continents. We all hail from distinct cultures and academic disciplines, but we all read something into the conflict resolution program that kindled our interest and inspired us to make the long journey to this remote town in the Pacific Northwest. As we're walking away from this chapter of life, the only thing that I can say with confidence is that we're all going to do vastly different things in our communities. Still, I know that our conversations, our education here, our togetherness have made a lasting impact on all of us. The interdisciplinary field of conflict resolution started taking shape in the early 20th century and spread in the US in the 1960s, much like other social movements at the time. According to early theorists, it is the non-rational elements of conflict that make conflict engagement possible. In other words, conflicts are more than just a clash of objective interests. The field was born out of a desire to understand the origins of war, to understand how revolutions break out, to shed light into the sociological and psychological forces that drive social movements to become violent. More than that, the field concerns itself with de-escalating conflict, with empowering people to move towards peace, with nonviolent communication, and a lot more. While this is a young research field, it has become a fast-growing and broad discipline. I want to note here that while the literature marks the beginning of the field in the early 20th century, indigenous people around the globe have had conflict resolution mechanisms in place for thousands of years. We're currently located on Kalapuya Ilihi land, and we really don't know a lot about how indigenous people navigated conflict in this land a mere 200 years ago. It is the oppressive founding structures of our society, which I name to be imperialism, colonialism, racial capitalism, and white supremacy, that led to the violent dispossession of indigenous people and the erasure of their peacemaking practices. I believe that it should be part of our commitment as conflict resolution practitioners to understand indigenous peacemaking practices, to give weight to their power, and to respectfully and appropriately bring their wisdom in non-indigenous contexts. The field of conflict resolution rides the wave of the in-between. It is the aspiration of moving from conflict to resolution. As I'm getting my start in the field, I will venture to say that resolution is an overly ambitious goal, one that is characterized by the finality that the dominant culture values. Under white supremacy culture, we want for things to be resolved. We seek a plain narrative that we can follow. Our brains hunger for certainty, but we must ask, who does resolution benefit in a society that still grapples with forces of white nationalism and colonialism? Following Cobb and Rifkin's argument, if language formulates reality, resolution can reinforce the status quo. It can benefit those who hold the power. If I could make a modest contribution, I would suggest that we choose to name the field conflict engagement rather than conflict resolution. Engagement offers clarity around our practice. It illustrates that our commitment is to create co-formulating conflict engagement processes and not to determine the outcome. Conflict often arises at the nexus of power, ideology, and justice. It has been an important, if painful, lesson for me that those who hold the power often are not interested in the conflict being resolved because they're in some way benefiting or profiting from the conflict continuing. For me, this has generated an important question, one that I don't have the answer to, but I wanted to present today. In the presence of structural injustice and continuing exploitation, what is the role of the conflict engagement field? What does it mean to hold an impartial process in the presence of vast power differentials? Are we limited to facilitation, or can we be advocates for the groups that we work with? To borrow the words of Black feminist facilitator Malkia Devich Cyril, a culture of noticing and acknowledgement is not enough. Violently enforced inequality makes truth, reconciliation, reparations, and accountability impossible. Thank you for your attention, and congratulations to the graduating class of 2025.
Thank you, Hara. I am now pleased to introduce our commencement keynote speaker, Professor Michael Moffitt. Michael Moffitt is the Philip H. Knight Chair in Law and is a faculty fellow at the Clark Honors College. Professor Moffitt has served as a member of the University of Oregon Law faculty since 2001 and served as Dean of the Law School from 2011 through 2017. Before coming to Oregon Law, he served as the clinical supervisor for the mediation program at Harvard Law School and taught negotiation at Harvard and Ohio State, or should I say the Ohio State. Professor Moffitt spent several years with Conflict Management Group consulting on negotiation and dispute resolution projects in about 20 countries around the world. He served as the Roger D. Fisher Visiting Professor in Negotiation and Conflict Resolution at Harvard Law School, where he led the negotiation workshops for 2 years. Last but not least, Professor Moffitt is one of the founding members of the CRES program. We are thrilled to have Professor Moffitt here with us today. Please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Good morning, all, and thank you again to Hadley, and to all of you for being here. Y'all were going to come, but you, I'm talking to now for a second. Your presence matters at these kinds of events, and so thank you for being here to help us mark this. Most of my remarks, I'm not going to make eye contact with you because I'm really talking to them, but I'm grateful you're here, so thank you. Thank you for that. I once heard that there are only 3 types of graduation speeches. There are speeches about the graduates, there are speeches about the graduation speaker, and there are speeches in which the graduation speaker gives advice to the graduates. And the last of these is the only one guaranteed to be awful. So we won't do that. I won't be offering you advice. But I have spent my entire career in sort of CRES adjacent fields, and we look for integrative solutions. So I'm going to try to do both of the other 2, but quickly. So I'll say a little bit about you, and I'll tell one story about me, and then talk about what it might mean for us, and then I'll flee the podium. So just that's the plan for this morning. So first, a word about you. You have lots of reasons to be deeply skeptical of most anyone of my generation, regardless of hair color. Probably for a lot of reasons, but at least one of them I want to mention this morning, and that is that at least twice in the recent past, people of my generation have said to you something along the lines of, "These are utterly unprecedented and scary times. No one has ever seen anything like this." And in our defense, kind of, COVID was unprecedented and scary, and we'd never seen anything like it. And these political and social times are unprecedented and scary. We've never seen anything like that. But implied in us saying these things to you is some version of, but it'll never happen again. And you should fundamentally distrust any of us when we suggest any such thing. We don't know either. We're trying our best. Despite all of that, you are here, and you have invested your time and your treasure and your talent in this exploration. And you haven't just come to gain knowledge. You've come to gain knowledge that is at risk of being useful to someone in a moment in their lives that may be among the worst moments in their lives. Those are the times that you have sought to understand what it might look like to be helpful. And for that, I salute you, I applaud you, and I thank you. Now a word about me, sort of about you too. One of my mentors, as I was just getting started in this field, used to say to everyone who would listen, conflict is a growth industry. And people would chuckle politely, like it was a business school talk. He wasn't wrong. It is a growth industry, and maybe that is, in a narrow sense, good news for graduates of a program like this. Before my first name became professor, I worked for a nonprofit called Conflict Management Group. Sort of in line with our last speaker, the notion wasn't that we were going to resolve things, but managing seemed like, as aspirations go, not terrible. And one of the pieces of work that I was engaged in involved trying to extend a ceasefire in a very troubled region of the world. And one morning I was sitting with the president of an internationally unrecognized breakaway republic, trying to work through whether there were any terms that could potentially work for everybody. And the work that I was doing was in sequential translation, as there was no language that everyone could agree to work in that didn't cause conflict. So I worked in a couple of different languages, and a translator would translate it into their languages. And if you've ever worked in sequential translation, it's kind of a thing. You have to learn to speak in very small chunks, and then wait, and then some things happen, and then they react to whatever it is that you've said. Humor, it turns out, works very badly. And it's not just that I'm not funny. I am also probably that, but the delay is almost insufferable between finding out whether the joke is deemed funny or not. So just don't do that if you ever find yourself in simultaneous or in consecutive translation. In this particular case, it was the first time that I was meeting with the president, and part of the early introduction was I was trying to explain who I was. I was working for a nonprofit called Conflict Management Group. I had been detained at the border not long before as being suspected CIA, which I wasn't. I would tell you that even if I were, but I wasn't. I pinky promise I was not CIA. I worked for this nonprofit called Conflict Management Group. And so the translator said to the president, I assume, something like, he works for a nonprofit called Conflict Management Group, or something like that. And I waited, and the president, his face sort of, he looked shocked, which made no sense to me. We had made an appointment. But he was shocked, and he swept his hand for us to examine the surroundings with him. And he said something that I didn't understand, and I waited for the sequential translation, and it came back, "We have no conflict here," says the president to me. And just to paint the picture, we were sitting in the middle of a ceasefire zone. I had spent the day before with the commander of the artillery trying to get them to move back to a different position so that it would be less threatening to the one remaining school and hospital in the region. 3/4 of the border of this president's territory were blockaded, and the fourth way out was through nearly impassable mountains. They had not had reliable electricity in a year. They had running water only during part of the year. And he would have me to understand that there was no conflict. Eventually, what I came to understand was that his understanding of conflict involved a hot war, and this was not that. No one that day had shot anyone. "We have no conflict," said the president. And yet, maybe in an imperialist way, I saw value for the work that you all have studied and that I had studied in going in. Maybe, though, conflict is not always the right lens. If we see the world through a conflict lens, we think in terms of integrative and distributive solutions. We think in terms of BATNAs and alternatives. We think in terms of processes, whether they are inclusive or not. And what this can miss, what the classroom has a hard time offering sometimes, is something about human dignity, something about security, something about outrage, and something about hope. And even more troublingly, it can often miss the companions to each of those. Something about othering and fear and complacency and despair. What can we offer them? What can we offer to ourselves when we find ourselves in any of those moments? Almost 25 years ago, two colleagues and I, Jane Gordon and Cheney Ryan, were just beginning to think about what a program like CRES might look like at the University of Oregon, and we had no idea. What we did dream of were students from all over who didn't all think the same, who didn't all want to tackle the same piece of the puzzle, but who were all committed to applying the very best of their knowledge in the hardest of instances of human difference. So, what's next for you and for us? I don't know. These are unprecedented and scary times, you may have heard. Maybe, though, it is people who understand how humans deal with differences who will be at the center of such times. And me, I hope that you are. Your energy and your passions give me hope, and for that fact, I both congratulate you today and I thank you for the work you are going to do. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Michael. During the next part of the ceremony, our CRES Faculty Director, Associate Dean Eric Gervin, will present the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Master's Program Class of 2025. That he will present each candidate and read a short outline of that candidate's background, interests, and career plans. While we typically present each candidate by alphabetical order, we'll be going out of order for our first candidate to ensure that they can get to their other commencement ceremony on campus. Please welcome Associate Dean Eric Gervin to the podium.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm going to echo those. Commencement's one of my favorite times of the year. It's a chance to celebrate folks like these for whom I am very proud. So, Ariana Bernard. Ariana graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution and a Master's of Business Administration with a specialization in sports business. Ariana received her Bachelor's of Arts in Politics and International Studies from Ithaca College. During her time in CRES, she's interned with Tracktown USA. The title of her final project is Building Social Equity Through Stadium Development, a framework for socially responsible sports infrastructures. Her favorite part of the CRES program was the amazing connections and friends she made. After graduation, she plans to move to Boston to explore career opportunities. Ariana would like to thank her grandparents for supporting her and making her first trip to Oregon for her graduation. She'd also like to thank her partner, former CRES cohort, MBA family, her Eugene community, all for the best 3 years in the Pacific Northwest. All right. Obafemi Akintayo. Obafemi graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution. Obafemi received his Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology and Anthropology and Master's of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies from the University of Ibadan. During his time in CRES, he interned with the UNESCO Crossing Institute. The title of his final project is Social Dominance Theory as a Lens, Understanding the Reemergence of Coups in Francophone African Countries and the Relative Stability of their English-Speaking Anglophone Counterparts. His favorite part of the CRES program has been the opportunity to engage with diverse perspectives on conflict resolution and peace building, and the interdisciplinary approach of the program. After graduation, he plans to continue working in the field of conflict resolution and pursue a PhD. Obafemi would like to express his heartfelt gratitude to his family for their constant support, friends for their encouragement, and CRES faculty for their guidance and mentorship. Special thanks to Hadley and John English for their incredible support throughout his time in the program. Obafemi would also like to give a special shout out to his late mom, whose love continues to guide him, his amazing CRES cohort, and to his Lord Jesus Christ for seeing him through this journey. Congratulations, Obafemi. Palingwende Miles Bryce Concebel. Bryce graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution. Bryce received his associate degree in liberal arts from Madison College and a Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. During his time in CRES, he interned the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service and the School of Law's nonprofit clinic. The title of his final project is Beyond Dispute: Collaborative Governance as a Pathway to Respectful Maternal Care in Sub-Saharan Africa. His favorite part of the CRES program was how the program challenged him to grow both intellectually and personally. Core courses gave him a well-rounded perspective on conflict and equipped him with the tools to not just resolve disputes, but to engage constructively with differences and promote collaboration. After graduation, he plans to seek employment opportunities in labor relations or public health. He'd like to thank his advisor, Eric Irvin, and committee member, they write these, see, I just read them, Ikubu Yaro, for their support and feedback on his final projects. He would also like to thank Hadley Underwood for her unwavering commitment to ensure that CRES students are supported and included with the School of Law community. Finally, he's deeply grateful to his family in Burkina Faso and Wisconsin for their unwavering love, encouragement, and support throughout his studies. Congratulations, Bryce. Hara Gakaramon. Hara graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict Resolution and Specialization in Environmental Conflict, Water. Hara will be joining the Master's of Environmental Studies program next fall to continue their studies at the University of Oregon. Hara received their Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations from Boston University. During the CRES program, they have interned with Water League, Conflict Artistry, and the Center for Dialogue and Resolution. The title of their final project is Understanding Neutrality: How do mediators who work in environmental conflicts understand and embody their neutrality? Hara's favorite part of the CRES program was the interdisciplinary nature of the classes. Hara would like to thank their family, whose support has often been their guiding light, and a shout out to Hadley for being such an awesome and diligent advocate for CRES students. Congratulations, Hara. Bosi Yuan. Bosi graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution. Bosi received his Bachelor's of Science in Social Sciences from the University of Oregon. During his time in CRES, he interned at the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service and the School of Law's nonprofit clinic. The title of his final project is Empowering the Vulnerable: A Handbook for Nonviolent Conflict Resolution in Authoritarian Environments. His favorite part of the CRES program was that it helped him begin to answer some of the questions that once left him feeling confused and lost. After graduation, Bosi would like to start writing his own bilingual business and media column in a private community-based fitness center. Bosi is thankful for everything he has experienced, even the moments that brought confusion or discomfort. Bosi would like to thank the professors and staff of the CRES program for their patience, understanding, and support that have helped him shape his confidence and abilities, which will carry him into the next chapter of his life. Congratulations, Bosi.
I also did not pay the students to put in special shout outs to me. I just want to put that in there. And thank you all. I am truly honored to have worked with you for the past 2 years. So, as we reach the end of our CRES commencement ceremony, we mark a powerful transition. Each of you is now transitioning from students to alumni and from learners to leaders. The work you have devoted each of yourselves to over the past 2 years is not just meaningful, it is essential. In a world that feels increasingly polarized and divisive, your skills are invaluable. Each of you holds the tools to bridge divides, foster understanding, and deepen empathy. And these skills will continue to be crucial as you continue your professional and personal growth. Now, here each of you are, standing on the precipice of something so big, and it may feel daunting to carry this responsibility, but always remember, you are not alone. Everyone here, your family, your friends, your faculty, stands with you. We are your community, and we will cheer you on as each of you go out and create amazing change in this world. In closing, I will leave us with a brief quote from Fred Rogers that feels especially timely. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." You are the helpers in today's world, and I know that each of you will meet this role with courage, compassion, and commitment. That concludes our CRES commencement ceremony. A few housekeeping items before we celebrate. Graduates, we will be taking group photos of you in the Wayne Morse Commons. Family, friends, faculty, and staff, we invite you to stay and enjoy the reception, complete with a delicious spread of food and drinks. Thank you, everyone who worked hard to make this event run smoothly. Special thanks to Jess Yates, who has been live streaming throughout this entire event, and Dave Kennedy, our building manager, who ensures we have a beautiful, well-equipped space in which to celebrate. And finally, I would like to thank the Law and Conflict Studies team of Noah Glussman, Jasmine Samara, and Eric Gervin for their unwavering support. Thank you all for coming. Congratulations, graduates. Let's go celebrate.